KFUG 101.1 FM online, kfugradio.org. It is 7 minutes past 7, and I'm sitting here. This is just Paul on this side. I'm sitting here at the desk in the Fug House with a couple of guests. I have with me, and we're just going to use first names. So I have Ayla and Gary. Say something, guys.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I got nothing from either one. There we go. Okay, let's get you nice and loud. All right, do that again, Gary.
Hi, good evening.
There you are. All right. So now the reason that we are here and talking to Ayla and Gary today, Ayla and Gary are both local. There we go. Local. See, I think I have a haunted cable. This happened the other night. This is why I was running around changing cables. Local paranormal investigators. Is that how you would term it?
Yes, we do ghost hunting as well, but we prefer to be known as paranormal investigators.
What's the difference between ghost hunting and paranormal investigation?
Paranormal investigation is a little bit more in depth because we're going into homes and doing investigations and seeking evidence that there's possibly a haunting involved.
Mm-hmm.
We try to debunk any natural explanation for the haunting, but more often than not, we do find evidence that there are some spirit activity there.
Now, people, there are shows like this all over TV. Now, when people watch these shows, is that a way for them to sort of visualize what you do when you go out and go on an investigation?
It's quite similar to what we do, actually. We use a lot of the same equipment that you would see on Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters. We use a lot of the same techniques, but what we do is we spend more time with the families and we go a little bit more in depth with our investigations.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So how long have you been doing this?
I consider myself, I was a ghost hunter just by hobby for about 20 years, and I've been doing it professionally for about, I would say about 15, 20 years.
Oh, wow. So can somebody hire you if they have what they think is some sort of a paranormal occurrence?
Yes, we're a nonprofit organization. We go in and we do investigations for free. They can contact us on our Facebook page, Triad Paranormal Investigations, and we can go from there. We usually go in, do a preliminary walkthrough, see if we can get some evidence of anything going on. We use digital voice recorders and EMF detection equipment, and we try to see if we can find some anomalous readings or EVPs, and then we go from there and we do a more in-depth investigation.
I want to get into the equipment specifically. I've seen it in action, actually. Gone along with you guys on a couple of investigations and seen how they've been used and worked. But first, just a basic question: how did you get into this?
I experienced a lot of paranormal activity when I was a child, and now I've been so interested in it as a lifelong kind of calling that I've just decided to use what I've experienced and what I've studied as a method to go and help people further who are going through what I've gone through.
Can you speak at all about the occurrences, the events that happened to you younger?
Definitely. I was about 5 years old when I had my first experience. I saw an apparition.
And that's a big deal, isn't it? Even now as an investigator, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been a believer since early in life.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
What was the apparition like?
It was sort of a dark being. I saw looking back at me through a mirror in a house that was actually a Catholic rectory back in the turn of the century in the Victorian times. And we lived there about 8 years, and it was quite common that we had paranormal activity going on in this home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Ayla, what brings you to this whole experience?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've always been really interested in this kind of thing. I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries, and it always freaked me out. And growing up watching all those ghost hunting shows, and I could never watch them by myself. I would always try to make my mom or dad watch them with me, just because they freak me out. And what really got me into it was I had just turned 18, and the Coos Bay Paranormal Society came to Smith River because they were going to investigate the old Pink Hotel in Smith River. And
Is that actually what it's known as? Is the old Pink Hotel?
pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, it's the Brookings Hotel.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
that's what it's called because it used to be owned by a guy named Brookings.
James Brookings.
Okay. But now it's Pink, so it's the old Pink Hotel, right?
Yeah.
I got you.
But they came into Smith River because they were going to do a couple investigations, and my mom told me about it, and so they opened up the hotel. This was before it was all boarded up, and they had a showing kind of what they were finding. They were spending the night there, 2 nights, and I was like, whoa, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
And what really grabbed my attention was they had a voice recording playing, and you could hear the people in the background, and they were walking around, and you all of a sudden hear a bang, and you can hear somebody say, "What was that?" You know, like they do in the ghost shows. But over that, "What was that?" you can hear creepy little kid laughter. And I think that's what really kind of turned me on to it. I was like, what? And so after the little showing was done, I went up and talked to them, and they said, hey, we're going to a house in Crescent City. Do you want to come join us? And I said, sure, let's do it. And I spent the evening with them. They asked if I wanted to spend the night in the hotel. I said no, because
I'll politely decline. Thank you.
And ever since then, I did some ghost hunting in Chico when I went to school there. And when I moved back, you know, I just collected stories from friends until I met Gary. And I've known you for about a year or so now.
Yeah, you've been on several investigations with us now.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
So tell me about the crew that you assemble. You've got, I mean, it's not just the 2 of you, right? Because the couple of times I've been around, you get some other folks going out there with you too.
Yes, we do have a few other team members that join us. We have our friend Melinda. She's one of our lead investigators out of Humboldt County. She comes up and joins us for a lot of investigations. We have a couple other team members. Austin is another team member of ours. We've got a very diverse group, everybody from firefighters to postal workers. And we've even had an inquiry from a local mayor from another city who wants to join our team.
Oh, that's cool.
So
We've had a lot of people just come in and out too that seem interested, and then we don't hear from them again, and then all of a sudden they're interested again, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
You're talking about me, aren't you? Yeah, I know, because I've done that. Gone along, went out, yeah, and then other things happen, and then like months go by, and then, oh, yeah, sure, and then I have another night free, so yeah, I feel, a fair weather investigator. And actually, that last time when we went out to Dead Lake, it was a beautiful night. That was really
yes.
Well, on the last investigation, I guess you could call me a fair weather investigator because it was during the storm and I wouldn't go out.
Oh no!
And Gary was all mad at me.
Did you go out? Did you go out during that storm? Did you really?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
All right.
Yes.
So let's go before we get into actual. And I don't mean. Don't take this wrong, because before we get into ghost stories, because that's what really is exciting to me, right? I want to know about the equipment. I want to know about the things that the guys are carrying on television, and I want to know about the things that you guys use too, and how do they work, or do they work?
Yes, we have, from experience, have learned that a lot of the equipment that we use is very accurate with detecting paranormal activity. We use what are called K2 meters. They measure anomalous energies, what we call electromagnetic field energies.
And it's really interesting when those go off and you're in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
There's nothing out there.
Oh wow.
Especially in those sources of electricity. So
those are the things that right when you're watching, like the green light, you want it to go. Was that the piece of equipment I'm remembering?
I believe you did see the K2 meters we were using. Usually the higher the reading, the stronger it indicates the stronger the outburst of the energy. We also use what's called the millimeter. It actually measures in numbers what the readings are that we are detecting. We've been in one particular haunted house that was in Ferndale. It was locally known as the haunted house. And
in Ferndale, there's just one.
That's what gets me. There's several. But this one was abandoned, and we had quite a time investigating it. And for a house with no electricity, we were detecting quite high levels of electromagnetic energy.
Wow.
Yes, like 10 milligauss hits of electromagnetic energy were detected in this house.
See, now what would be normal? What would be background?
Usually a base reading would be like 0.2, and that's
Whoa.
just your ambient background normal type reading, maybe 0.1, 0.2.
Wow.
We were getting 10 points on our detecting equipment.
That's when we do investigations. We take the equipment and do a sweep of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times, like electrical boxes, you'll take the K2 meter up to it and it will light up completely red. And you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. You're right there. But
like they say in ghost hunters and stuff, if you are feeling creepy in a room, it might be because of whatever box or whatever is putting out energy. Mm-hmm. But if there's nothing like that in there.
Oh, wow. So does it all hinge on electromagnetic energy? Is that basically what you're looking for? Is that the tell that something's
that's
up?
One of the indicators. When we find anomalous electromagnetic energy in an area where there shouldn't be such strong readings, we also do electronic voice phenomena. We try to use digital voice recorders and ask questions and get answers. We try to get names or explanations as to why the spirit is still inhabiting the house. So we have other pieces of equipment. Also the spirit box that we use, it scans radio frequencies and it randomly lands on certain words. And the belief is these words are manipulated by spirits, so they are able to communicate. They can scan through these radio frequencies, select words, and communicate with you by this means.
Wow. Now, I've seen those. Those just showed up on the shows, right? On television. I've seen those happen.
They've been around for about 5 or 10 years.
Okay.
But the technology is getting more and more advanced. We did get the occasion to have the spirit box actually validated for us. We were out at a local lake that's very known to be haunted, and we were using the spirit box, and we got the name Marshall 2 to 3 times on the spirit box. So as we got closer to the lake, we took out the digital voice recorder and started asking questions, and we also got the name Marshall on the digital voice recorder. Those are 2 separate devices, so that it totally one confirm the other.
Okay, so now we have that EVP, and I'd like to play that here in just a second, but I don't remember from the original story that you'd gotten it from the radio box as well.
Yes, we'd gotten it from the spirit box as well.
The spirit box.
Yeah, we were walking just towards the lake, and we were holding the spirit box, and we're like, did it just say a name? And then
just listening to
it said it again, and we're like, oh, but it's kind of like a muffled kind of staticky sound.
There's not a lot of radio around here to scan.
Yeah, and it was just like and so when we got out the voice recorder and our friend was asking a bunch of questions, and then he played it back. Now this is what really made me a believer in the paranormal, and this is just within the last year, because I've always had like questions about it, and I wonder if it's actually real, and like all this stuff. But when you're there firsthand and it actually happens, and like you're like, did it just say that? And it's really cool because it was like firm evidence, because there was 4 of us out there in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden you hear Marshall. Who said that? And then he went back and asked a bunch more questions, and the guy answered. Let's play. I've heard this, and I played it for my daughters too, and they were like, "Oh, that's really creepy." They didn't want to hear it anymore. I think the clip we have is first the guy asks, like, "Do you have a name?" And then he says a name, and then the other clips are, because I don't think you can hear him ask the questions, but he says,
"How did you die?
How did you die?
And are you alone?" right? Or are you
Yeah,
the only one out
or
here?
Are there others?
Are there others
Yeah.
out here with you?
Yeah.
And then the last thing he says wasn't actually an answer to a question. All he said is, leave now.
Okay, so are you ready? I know
Yes.
we're less than a week away from Halloween. Everybody's in the mood. Both of you guys are wearing clothes with skulls. So so let's freak everybody out. This is an EV, and I think we can say where this was, right?
Yes, we
Yeah.
recorded this at Dead Lake.
Yeah, out at Dead Lake at night.
Yes.
Late
There
at
was only 4 of us out there.
Oh wow! All right. Let's give it a listen here. Let's see how it comes up.
That's where we got the leave now.
Okay, so we went through. Let's discuss, and then I want to play it again because I was there when you brought this in. You brought this into
Yes.
KFUG and said, "Hey, put this, make this digital for us." It was on a recorder, and so we listened to it, and we went back through it, and we played it again, and we tried to isolate things, and we turned things way up, and so he says Marshall in response to the question that and people will go, well, I didn't really hear it. We'll play it again because once you hear it, you really hear it. I know this firsthand from really hearing it. Right? He says Marshall, and then in response to the question as to
How did you die?
How did you die? He says drowned.
Yes.
And then
There's many.
are you well, I forget the question exactly, but
Yeah,
are you,
like,
here
are
alone?
you the only one?
There's many.
There's many.
And then he says, go now or leave,
Leave
now?
now.
Leave now. All right. So it's coming across. It's simply in one channel over here. So it's a mono file. It's over on one side. Let's see. I don't think I have a way to make that stereo for everybody. So I'm going to turn it up a little louder. I want to play it again because it is really, really intriguing. So here is Marshall. I'd say live from Dead Lake, but I don't think that's accurate. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that would be alarming. That would be a shaking thing to have
That was
happen to.
quite a rush because we
That-
were playing it back immediately to listen to what we were getting in response, and yeah, it was quite a rush to get that EVP.
Have you ever attempted or been able to or to search any kind of records to see if anybody named Marshall ever drowned in Dead Lake?
We Googled Marshall Dead Lake.
Yeah, I went on my own computer, researched as much as I could. And
Yeah.
I-
No. This sounds like going to the county offices is what it is. Or going
Might
to the
have
triplicate
to.
or going someplace like that. They're not going to go back and put, that
So-
stuff on the internet.
Since we were so close to Point St. George, I
right.
went through the passenger list of the Brother Jonathan to see if there was a Marshall. But I could not find a Marshall on the passenger list.
wow,
So that
wow.
was kind of a dead end, but it was
That's
an
neat.
idea I had.
So if any current listeners might know who Marshall
Who
is,
Marshall was. who-
please give
who
us a
for-
shout.
For
Yes.
some reason would be hanging around Dead Lake for all eternity now. Now you've gone out to Dead Lake several times, right? This is kind of you go out there
Yes.
again. Why?
Because of the legends that we've researched about the lake. It goes back into way back into Tolowa history. They have the legend of the sea serpent that travels between the different lakes, Tolowa and Earl and Dead Lake, and back out to sea through underground caverns, underwater caverns. And that's one interesting legend. Another one is that it has a minion. It's a Wendigo type character. A Wendigo is sort of like a deer-like bipedal creature that causes phenomena or tries to lure you into traps. So he's supposed to this creature. It's a 3-legged deer, According to Indian legend, it draws people to the lake so the monster of Dead Lake can come out and eat you.
Oh, wow.
And speaking of the monster of Dead Lake, didn't you hear a splash, like a big old splash one day? one night when you were out there?
Yeah, there were a few nights that we have heard some pretty large splashes out in the
Whoa.
lake and wondered exactly what was
Oh,
swimming
wow.
out there. But when you go out there, it's pitch dark.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
creepy.
It is creepy. I went out one time with you. We didn't
Yeah.
see anything. I don't think there might have been some sort of visual anomalies with some of the pictures that were being
Yes,
taken, and
we
that was
did.
as close as we got to anything.
I think
thought.
the time that you went with us, there was that red orb.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like a blood red orb that was
Yes.
huge in one of the photos we
I
took.
do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I remember seeing that. But other than that, it was just an enchanting night. It was a full moon. I sat on the dock for a while. It was really pretty. I wasn't scared at all. I wanted, but I know the night that you guys were out there with Marshall, it was dark, and I think it was even windy or something. It was a creepy.
Yeah,
night,
there was
right?
some wind.
It was windy.
Mm-hmm.
So other locales in and around here, and we talked before about, want to talk about
Sure.
people's houses or businesses, very specifically or anything, but places like Dead Lake that might just be outside someplace. Are there other places that you're frequenting that are good
yes.
places to go?
We were long interested in the old fireplace. It's on
yeah.
the south side of town across from Crescent Beach Motel. That's an old auto park from back in the early 1900s,
wow.
1920s.
Uh-huh.
And we actually got some interesting photos and had some experiences out there.
Like what sorts of things? What'd you find out there?
We just
And
had,
an auto park for people, that's like the precursor to a motel, right?
Yes, that was the
that you
early
could- yeah.
motels. Yeah.
Mhm.
We just had some very, very interesting photographs, some strange fogs and mists and orbs and things that we couldn't really explain, because we try to go out on nights when it's dry, no fog, no humidity, we really take in consideration to the weather before we go out.
Well,
to
it's
an
got to
outdoor
eliminate so
investigation.
many variables for you and your equipment being out and about like that, right?
Yeah, because it really interferes with our photographs. We can't get clear photographs, and when there's so much raindrops and moisture and fog and stuff. So we go out on dry nights. Usually we're really busy in the summer, spring, when it's more dry, and we go out and get a lot of photographs that are, like these strange mists and orbs and funnels and just things that you can see them on our page, Triad Paranormal Investigations on Facebook. Some of the photos we've taken here locally, and they're fascinating, unexplainable.
So tell us about, you guys have gone into private residences and there are things like, okay, I'll say it, it's a business, and I don't think anybody would dispute it, but I know, I've heard so many stories about the McNulty House in town, places like this. We have a lot of old Victorian homes here.
Yes.
At least, they're pushing 180 now. 65. Anyway, however old they might be, they're beautiful old homes. You've been in private homes. You've gone and investigated some of these
Yes.
places, and without disclosing, people's houses and their
Definitely.
ghost dirty laundry and things. What sorts of things have you found?
We've gotten photographic evidence in one residence that we did investigate in Brookings. A lady was claimed to be touched in her bed. So we all tried out the experience of taking turns laying in
the bed, really? Did you? Yeah.
Yes, and we all did feel either vibrations on the bed or
Well, the ghost really liked Melinda because it kept playing with her toes.
yes.
Wow. Playing with her toes, like how? What do you mean? Like just playing?
Like she was just
like
laying
that?
on the bed and she felt like somebody was placing their hand up her leg and like just fiddling with her foot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like it felt like the bed would shake. And we were just kind of sitting there.
Whoa. All right. Brookings haunted bed, and you felt laying there?
Yes, I felt some tingling and some vibration in the bed myself.
Wow.
Yes, we did photograph on that bed. It was a white comforter covering the surface of the bed. We got a very strange, hairy-looking, impish creature
Really?
photographed on that bed.
Is that on the Facebook page?
Yes, that's on our
Okay.
Facebook page.
It looks like a cat almost going by really fast, like a smear, but it kind of goes up the pillow.
Whoa. Oh, wow.
But they didn't have any animals there.
And then there's an arc of a shadow, and then there's orbs around this. And then around the object itself, this hairy creature, you can see orbs, like a little starburst orbs, surrounding the outline of this creature.
Tell me about the orbs. They're a common occurrence, right?
Yeah, orbs are a common occurrence.
Are they the most common occurrence as far as, looking for any sort of evidence?
Yeah, it's something you'll see more often than not in photographs, but those are often moisture droplets, pollen in the air, dust. We look for orbs that are very pronounced and colors that are not common to the orb spectrum of colors that you would normally see. We look for the ones that are really outstanding.
I had a friend take a picture of an orb once out in the middle of the Gasky forest, and it had a little curly Q tail on the end of it.
Oh, whoa.
That was weird.
Oh my gosh. Have you heard of the graveyard up in Gasky?
I've been there.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
Somebody sort of gave me directions to it one time, and I can't remember it. It's on the other side of the river, right?
I don't know how to get there from the main road, but I know the
How did you get there?
I know the trail back way.
Oh, okay, all right, the trail back, because it's not. It's on like the.
It's on a hillside.
But it's on the other side of the river from the highway, right?
Yeah, it's like way the heck back.
Yeah, almost. Okay, yeah, that's about where I heard.
It's just kind of a weird little hidden place in Delaware
wow.
County.
Wow, have you
I've been to Madame Gasky's grave.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the place? Is
Yeah.
that? Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay. Have you done any investigation out there? Have you seen anything?
No. We do very little investigations in cemeteries because we do respect the
That's
spirits
smart. Yeah,
that we are investigating. It's we're pretty frequently occupied with home investigations. There's a lot of interesting haunts here in Crescent City.
Yeah,
And
can you talk about it?
Smith River.
Oh yes.
Okay, I have to tell you, you guys told me about this house, this Victorian house out on Fred Haight, with the old Chinese man who haunts
Yes.
it. I cannot forget that every time I go back to that
Oh.
place. If
Yes.
I'm with somebody, I tell them.
So,
I think about it every time.
The story of that is, this is what I heard. I could be wrong.
Okay.
So if anybody listening knows the correct story, please let me know. There's a house in Smith River that the story that I heard was back when they used to have a bunch of Chinese slavery up in the hills when they were building the mines. Unfortunately, bad things happened and they decided they didn't need slaves anymore. So instead of shipping them away, they would probably murder them, but I'm not sure about that. So the story that I heard was someone saved this Chinese man and moved him into this house in Smith River, and he lived in the top story bedroom in the back, and he lived there for quite a long time, and then he passed away. Apparently, to this day, if you go into that room and you close the window, you'll come back and the window's always open.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know that for sure. It's just what I've heard through the grapevine.
Okay.
But I have heard from multiple people kind of the same story along those lines, and which is really interesting. I tried to investigate that house once about 10 years ago, but there were tenants living in there, and the owner thought that they probably wouldn't feel comfortable.
Might not. Yeah.
And I haven't tried to asking since, but
I made an attempt to do so.
Did you?
Yeah, no.
It's such a cool old house.
Yeah, it is a really neat old house, and I think about that every time I drive by there. I think about the old Chinese man who opens the window. That's crazy. All right, where else around here do we have?
We have Brother Jonathan Park that is very haunted.
Tell us about that, because I've heard that is a place that kind of exists in local mythos. I mean, kids who grow up here, they've got stories. It's all so. Yeah, take us to the park.
Currently, there's all kinds of talk about a mass grave of Brother Jonathan victims that's not marked. And it's out there somewhere. Also, we've been told by reliable sources with this cemetery here in town and historians that was a cemetery at one time, and only a few of the graves were moved. That's over by 9th Street. And it was one section of cemetery of about 1,500 people.
Wait a minute. So is it the little? Okay, so we've got the main cemetery there that everybody knows behind the old Kmart building, which is
Yes.
gone, right? Which is Home Depot. And then is it the little cemetery by the firehouse? Are those the graves that were removed? That have the wooden markers there? It's like across the street.
I think
from
that's the Pauper Cemetery that's across the street.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
sure.
If you notice in the Cooper Hill Cemetery over there, there's not a whole lot of old graves for the amount of settlers and the amount of history that we have here in this area.
I have noticed that actually. Yeah.
From what I've been told by local historians, that there was a club here in town and they decided to clean up the old cemetery. Well, they took the graves of the people who were prominent and the people who still had family here, and they transferred them over to Cooper Hill, and the rest of them, they bulldozed the cemetery.
Wow.
They used a lot of that concrete and those headstones to fill in the jetty.
Mm-hmm.
And they left the bodies there and built streets and the Brother Jonathan Memorial, and they say there are still graves there.
I have
to
heard
this
that.
day.
I have heard that as well. And more than that, I actually know somebody who had gone back in some sort of drainage.
Yes.
Do you know this story?
I do know this story.
Taking skateboards back in there or something like that?
I heard it's closed off now, though.
Is it closed off now?
But the story I heard was that they found this drainage and went inside, and there were headstones and pieces of grave just collapsed inside.
And it was back. It was like the access was back up the cliffside or something. From the sea.
But I
back in
heard
there,
it is closed off now.
Oh wow!
It would have been cool to see.
I have a friend who was here after the '64 tsunami, and she remembers the graves and coffins sticking out of the cliff sides there.
Wow!
Yeah, that had been washed.
Oh my
up.
gosh!
Yes.
Okay. So now, have you ever done any investigation there?
Yes, we've taken some of our instruments in there, and we have gotten some readings of anomalous EVP. EMF energies that are moving around us.
I really want to go back there, though, and just sit and do an
Yeah.
EVP session.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
'Cause that's got to be
I would-
wow. How big? Now you said 1,500 graves.
Just in that one section.
Is it just the
Same.
park that we're talking about? The
Nope.
park proper? It goes out elsewhere, doesn't it?
It goes
Yeah.
way out
Yeah.
into different areas. I don't have
Wow.
those parameters with me right now, but a good friend of mine, she did write an article in For Insiders of Southern Oregon and about the lost cemetery there.
I'll be darned.
It
When
is-
was that in the Insider? Because I'll make a couple of calls. I'd like to read
Ooh.
that.
I'll
Is
have
that
to
Shelley?
ask her.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
Shelley.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I can just call Shelley. All right, that's fine. Because I'd like to know that.
I've
I'd
never
like to read
actually met her, but I've read all of her insider
Fascinating story.
stuff.
that. She used to live in the McNulty house.
Yes.
Those are the first stories about the McNulty house I heard, was because I was taking pictures at the time of their family, and so they were telling me about, there's an old lady in the picture. Don't worry about cropping her out, that kind of thing. All right. Okay, so you were on, and what sparked all of this and got me talking to Ayla and then to you, Gary, about coming back on and coming on the show, or rather coming on KFUG, is that I saw that you guys had reached out on Facebook, looking for people to join you.
Yes.
Have you had response?
Oh, we had some great responses, actually. Surprisingly, for a small area, there are some people who have been involved in paranormal investigation for a few years, and so we have a couple of good candidates right now.
Wow! So folks with previous experience. That's great.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we're
Well,
kind of
cool.
excited to.
Are you still actively asking for folks?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I think we have a couple of good candidates that we want to join us. It's so hard to balance your time when you're working and trying to do paranormal investigation.
Oh, sure.
But, that's why we always try to keep an extra couple people on hand so we can have some help. We go into these places.
It's really, really exciting. That's really cool. And so we've sort of talked about maybe making this a recurring show or something. And of course that would assume that you have ongoing investigations and things. What's happening looking forward? What sorts of places are you planning on getting out and investigating?
We're currently we just did a pre-investigation at a place. That's where we bring our equipment in. We do kind of like a little walkthrough and maybe do shoots for some EVP. We did find enough to warrant going back into this home and doing further investigations. So that's something that we're working on. We spend a little time with our investigations. We're not like the show that you see ghost hunters where they go in for a night, and if they don't find anything, they rule out any possibility, of paranormal activity. We actually will put in several nights investigating a location here in the area. We do Southern Oregon, we do Trinity County, we Del Norte County and Humboldt. We're free to come out and investigate.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what happens then? If you were to come out and investigate a house for me, you're there over the span of, a few nights, whatever it entails. Let's say you find evidence of something going on.
Yes.
What then?
Usually when we do find some kind of substantial evidence, usually through photographs, it's usually a comfort and a relief to the people that we are talking to, because it confirms to them that they're not crazy, they're not having hallucinations, because we're finding evidence that what they are seeing is there is something substantial to it. So we do try to either through different methods try to remove the spirits ourselves. If that doesn't work, then we will contact the Catholic Church here locally. And
how do you remove a spirit?
We usually have to help it recognize that it is deceased, it is no longer living, and it does not belong on this earth. It needs to cross over. So if we can get it to cross over, that's what we attempt to do.
How do you talk that's got to be a hell of a story to break to a ghost, oh, by the way, you're dead, and go. So how do they listen? Does that do things clear up then after that? Is it that simple?
Yes,
Wow.
A lot of times. But you also realize that once that spirit has haunted that place, it kind of leaves a doorway for more spirits to actually come back. They can return, or there's an open doorway for more spirits to come in. Usually where there's one spirit we found, there are many.
Wow.
We call it sort of a nest.
That's interesting. Wow, that's an interesting way to think about it. So have you thought a lot then, and this is maybe getting too far afield, but we've been talking for 45 minutes, so it's time to get this far afield, I think. What happens to you after you die? This is because it's one thing to go out and to investigate and to take the equipment and to go and do all of this, but it has to inform or form an idea you have about the afterlife from what you experience. What's that idea, having experienced these things?
It seems like from our experiences and research, there are a few dimensions. We believe that there is, that people can cross over and go into the light, into a higher dimension, and then there's in between places where they go, and we seem to reach those people who are in the in between places.
In between places, so between the dimensions, sort of in transit or something.
Yes,
they just kind of are stuck
in transit, or they have a purpose that they're trying to accomplish before they cross over. We did a suicide haunting, and what it really took was just communicating with that spirit that it had died. It was time to cross over, and when it was recognized that we were doing this paranormal investigation, it just woke it up, and it did actually cease the paranormal activity there.
I'll be darned. Ayla, same question.
Well, I don't really know. I mean, it's interesting, really, because on one hand, you have a lot of people who have a lot of different opinions about what happens after you die. But, getting more into paranormal investigation, I'm just like, there are so many people in the world who have these experiences where something happens. They'll see someone from their past, or someone who just died, or like things will keep happening after somebody dies even though they're not actually there. And I really don't know. And that's why I think I'm so interested in it, because it's just kind of like you're going towards the unknown, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
when you were talking about just a little bit earlier about people getting trapped, it reminded me of this story of what I was talking about earlier when I went with the Coos Bay Paranormal Society to that Victorian house in Crescent City. And it was this big old place. It's the kind of place where it's like an itty bitty stairway in the very back room. And so you have to kind of like hunker down and climb up it, and these big old rooms. And basically the guy called us in and said, "Hey, I'm having some weird things happen. Come check it out." And so I went along with them. It was my first time going ghost hunting like that. And so we walked around the house, and, you know, nothing felt weird. You know, sometimes when you walk into places, you feel like an energy, and you're like, oh gosh, this place, I don't know about this place. But it felt completely normal. I wasn't scared at all. And we walked around the place, and it started getting nighttime. And there's a lot of people that are more sensitive to things than other people. I'm not one of them.
Oh, you're not either? Because I'm not either. That's
yeah.
Like, you talk about you walked in and you get like, you know, a feeling or a sense from a room. I don't even get that.
I
Yeah.
do.
Do
I
you?
do
Yeah,
very
yeah.
strongly, yes.
I'm lucky I notice a smell. I walk into a room. That's it. But so that's the kind of intuitive sort of connection that I've just never had that makes me think it's got to be really frustrating to haunt me. But so you can do that. You walk in, and is it every room, or is it just do you get sort of a baseline, like every room's got a feel, or is there something anomalous?
Every room has a feel.
Okay.
Every room has a feel usually.
Okay.
And so,
I'm sorry. Yes, go on.
like our paranormal friend Kyle, who works with us a lot.
He's a friend. He's not a paranormal friend, right?
Not a paranormal
Yeah. Okay.
friend, but he works with us a lot, and he's a sensitive.
Okay.
And so I actually had him come over one time, and he said just walking through my dad's house, he could feel someone there. Like he's described it as like a pound in his chest.
Wow.
And I thought that was really interesting. I don't get that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
in this particular house, we had a couple of people who were sensitives, and they said, I sense these two little kid spirits here, trapped, basically, because they were little kids. They didn't know that they were dead.
Sure.
And so we went into this room, closed all the doors, and they were going to have like a thing to try to like call them forward to get them to interact with us. And so the main lady, had a ball and like a teddy bear and a little charm on a chain, right? And so they were like, "Oh, you can come and play with the ball. Don't be afraid of us." And after about 10 minutes or so, it was really interesting because I was sitting there with my back to the door that was closed, and it went into the kitchen. And I kid you not, I heard what sounded like a little kid voice, high-pitched squeaky, just behind me. And all the hairs on my body stood straight up.
Wow.
And people looked over at me because I guess I just went white. And they were like, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "I did." And so I moved over. We opened up the door. The lady said, "Come on in. It's okay." And so she was holding this ring on this chain, and it started kind of going back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, "Oh, she's just doing that. There's no way nothing can move that." And she's like, "You want to try?" And I said, "Okay." So I was sitting on this chair where you could kind of see it underneath the chair if you were sitting across from me. And it felt like someone pulled on the ring, and it just started spinning, like out of control, just completely spinning.
Wow.
And later on, the person who was sitting across from me said they saw someone underneath my chair. Anyways, my point is...
What's your point after that? What are you talking about?
My point is that they kind of tried to voice and explain to these little kids that they were no longer there. They need to move on to the light. And they said, picture someone that may have gone over already, like your grandma. Can you see your grandma? And we burned a bunch of sage, said a prayer, and they moved on.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't there anymore,
Wow.
according to the sensitives. But this is my whole first experience doing this. I didn't really know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But later, like 5 minutes later, one of the sensitives went into the next room, came straight back and said, someone out there is not happy with us.
For sending the children away?
Apparently, there was an older man spirit
Uh-huh.
who was also in the house, who was keeping the kids trapped.
Oh, whoa.
And that really freaked me out
Uh-huh.
because I didn't know things like that could happen.
Okay. All right. Oh, see, okay. 752. That begs the question then, as far as the, the afterlife, the afterworld, and the moral landscape of said afterworld. It's not. Oftentimes, people think about spirits, they think about ghosts, and you think about them almost like they're functions. They're empty of any sort of intention. It seems like they're just kind of bumping around. They don't know that they're dead. They're living out something. They're kind of going through the motions. But you don't find that's the case. There's actual intention behind.
There's
a lot
intelligence
of the
in a lot
yeah.
of these spirits that we encounter.
What about evil?
Yes.
Okay. What sorts of things do you find?
We have.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. Wow. That's what that was.
There is some evil hauntings out there that we have investigated. They're not as common as you would imagine.
Mhm.
So what we consider a demonic haunting is very rare. I have only experienced something like that for myself personally. As a team, we've not come across any demonic hauntings. We've suspected some of the calls that we have received have been regarding those kind of hauntings, but the clients usually back out when we or the person involved heavily in this haunting.
What's
usually,
the difference in the haunting that's been experienced?
just a lot more negative, terrifying events will
Mhm.
occur during a negative haunting. There's usually more manifestations of the spirits. You can see darker energies or black masses in
Mhm.
these hauntings, usually for the people involved.
Sometimes people say they'll hear growls
Mm-hmm.
and get scratches.
Yes, growls,
Wow,
scratches.
wow,
These are
okay.
common in these kind of hauntings.
Because I've heard, and you hear them talk about them on some of the shows. But is it the dark people? Is that what's the term
Oh.
for the
The shadow people?
shadow people? That's it exactly. Is that the same kind of thing that we're talking about?
No.
Is that something different?
Not all shadow people are negative. No,
Okay.
That's just one manifestations.
That sounded remarkably racist for me to say dark people. That's not what it was. The shadow people I was talking about. Yes, exactly. But they're not necessarily demonic.
No.
Okay.
A shadow person's not necessarily a demonic entity. A demonic entity is something quite in of itself. It's
Tries to take form as something else.
yeah. They can imitate children. That's common.
Wow.
Yeah, they can imitate children's
Like the
spirits.
haunting would be like it's a kid's spirit, it's a child spirit, but it's
That's-
really not that
Yeah,
kind of
but
thing.
it's really a darker entity or
Oh.
or something that we're, it takes a little detection to make sure that that's what it is. But they can imitate people or children.
Wow.
Usually, yeah.
Yeesh. There's a DJ here who talks about that, and they said they were just kind of messing around. It was kind of they were playing, and he's a very religious man, and they were playing along with some sort of, it was not something as simple as like a Ouija board, that kind of thing, but it was, they were doing an impromptu investigation, and I forget what it was that happened to them, some direct response, something that was like really manifesting, and it just scared them, and they just, that's it, we're out of here, and they felt like it was something dark, it was something bad that they had done, that they had sort of stirred up, and they went, okay, we're gone, never mind, and like backed out. So
A lot of times these things lie dormant
Mhm.
in homes and places, and it just takes the right person who's sensitive
Mhm.
or just the right occurrence, and it wakes it up.
Yeah.
So some place that might be haunted for one person won't be haunted for the next family that moves in.
Okay, all right, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That's weird. I actually got firsthand experience with that when I was I was a kid, lived in Japan, in a haunted house, and my folks just filled my childhood afterwards with these stories. The guy was buried in the front yard. There was a Shinto grave in the front
Mhm.
yard, and this guy was in the house, and things like, they're taking my folks. Well, I don't know if they took showers together, but someone's in the shower, and somebody brushes back the shower curtain. and there's nothing there. Things like that, and things going
Oh, wow.
missing. And I remember growing up and living or sitting on the front steps every afternoon waiting for my dad to come home from the base. He was in the Navy. That's why we were there. And I was little. I was like 3. And just we were always out. I remember the front yard and the dog next door and the cars and things in the street and everything. And my mom didn't. I was an adult, and she explained to me we spent every afternoon outside because she couldn't stand to be inside. Sliding doors would come off the rails and fall across the hallway. Things would. The ghost did not like her. It calmed down when my father would come home.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm taking pictures, right, with the photique. This is like maybe 10 years ago, and I'm taking senior pictures of this girl, and her mom's there, and we start talking, and it's an hour. You talk to these people, and you get to know things about them, and it turns out she had lived in the very same house in Japan because her
What?
folks had been her dad had been in the military, stationed at Yokosuka, and she had stayed at this house. It was 1488 Shima Yamaguchi. That was the address because they made me memorize it when I was a little kid, and I went, no way. And I asked her, did you experience? We talked about the grave outside. We talked about the whole thing. Nothing. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she said, well, I was like a really pissed off teenager and I wasn't into being there, so maybe I wasn't paying attention. But no, they never experienced anything in that
Yes.
house. And that's interesting that you'd say that, because I just
Wow.
assumed a place is haunted, no matter who comes through.
You know, some of the most haunted places that we've ever been to, we can go in and it'll be really, really haunted. We'll do a preliminary investigation. We maybe even do a few nights of staying there. But as soon as we bring in our equipment, everything goes dead silent.
Wow.
So it's very strange.
That is weird. Oh my
It's you can't determine when paranormal activity is going to happen. It can happen in the daytime just as much as it can happen at night. Yeah.
Okay, so that begs the question: why do you guys go out on moonlit nights to go investigate?
Because there's something with the camera flash that helps us detect more spiritual energies. We can use ultraviolet or infrared at night.
Okay.
It's easier.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
traditionally, nighttime is when paranormal activity starts to peak more and more. Especially between 12 and 3 a.m.
Really?
That's
The
when-
witching
yeah.
hour thing? That's actually
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I'll be darned.
Yeah. Witching hour and dead time
The
is
dead
3
time,
a.m.
yeah, right in the
yeah.
dead of the night. Oh my God, wow.
Mm.
All right, well, it is, let's see, 20 seconds to 8 o'clock. We've talked about all of this for an hour. And so now I want to thank you guys for joining. If you want to make this a recurring thing in whatever fashion, we can talk when we get
would
off the
love
air.
to.
Because I'd love to have you back on and like to get into even specific kind of investigations if there's a way to do that. There's all kinds of possibilities with a show like this.
We would like to bring our investigations onto the air as we are at the location as well. So
all right, well,
that
let's
would be-
finish this. Do you get any feeling from this place?
No, I find it very serene. But,
wow.
when the lights go off, sometimes it's a different...
It's a radio
Vibe
station. The lights
altogether.
never go off. That one stays on all the time, just about. Oh, wow. Okay, because I was curious about that.
Well, don't forget to check us out.
Yes.
Yeah.
See,
On
she's doing.
Facebook.
You're doing the marketing thing.
I
aren't
am
you?
doing the
All right,
marketing
all
thing.
right, okay, fine. Market it away. The name of the group again on Facebook?
My group that I run on Facebook is called Del Norte and Curry County Ghost Stories and Weird Happenings.
Okay.
And Gary's group,
If you're looking for help, if you have something that's you're questioning at your home, you can contact us on Facebook. It's Triad, TRYAD, Paranormal Investigations. We will come out for free. We'll take a look with our equipment. We'll check out and see if we find anything that warrants a further investigation. Then we try to determine exactly what it is that's haunting your home.
and I just want to hear all your weird stuff. So, and now that Halloween's coming up,
So, okay, I got to ask the last question. What are your Halloween plans?
Ghost hunting.
I
You're
have
gonna
to
be-
work.
You have to work
I
on
have to
Halloween?
work.
Oh,
I will
no.
be haunting at your local Lucky 7 casino. But hopefully I can join him afterwards.
And Gary, I'm sorry. What did you say you were doing on it?
We're going out to a local lake that's haunted, and we're also going to be checking out a hotel just here slightly out of town. That's from 1863. That's
You're
very
doing a twofer on
notorious in
Halloween?
area. Oh yes, we just can't get enough of it.
Well, last time we went to the old hotel, we actually did catch a shadow person.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, okay. We're going to go into extra innings only because that was the trip I didn't go on. That was
Yes.
the investigation that I didn't go on, and now I'm going to find out why I regret not going on that.
Well, we asked for a couple months if we could go into this old pink hotel because I hadn't been in since the story I told you 10 years ago. And so the caretaker let us in, and I think we actually got the cops called on us because they saw the flashlights.
Oh, yeah, walking around.
Someone saw the flashlights, but they were like, no, you guys are okay because we got permission to go in there. And, you know, it's musty, it's dirty, it's run down, but it's so cool. Rooms everywhere. And, you know, we're going through the night, got some photographs, some orbs, not too much going on. And then at one point, Melinda and I were at one end of the hotel upstairs, and I heard a shuffle outside the door. And I was like, did you hear that? She's like, oh, it's just probably Gary. But Gary was all the way down the hall. And I was like, that wasn't Gary. And so there was a handful of us, like 6 or something.
Yes.
And 4 of us were downstairs. 2 of them were upstairs. And all of a sudden, because we had walkie-talkies, all of a sudden over the walkie-talkie, one of our investigators said, oh my gosh, you guys, I just saw a shadow person. You need to come up here right now. And so we went up there, and he was just freaked out.
Yes.
What did he see?
He said, because the way the old hotel is, there's one really long kind of snake-like hallway.
Really?
And then there's another hallway that kind of forms a T. And it's just a weird place. Like, it was built weird. Like, the entire top floor used to be a ballroom.
Wow.
And so they changed it into apartments
Oh,
at
wow.
some point. So there's two ceilings.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, yeah.
And he said that he was standing in the hallway, and his sister was in one of the rooms near him, and he was looking towards the end of the hallway. And what he saw was somebody lean out into the hallway from the doorway and then back in.
Oh my God. All right. Yeah.
But his sister was standing behind him, and he
that-
said, oh my gosh. And she was like, what? From the next room?
Oh, wow. I got chills. All right. All right. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That was the investigation I didn't go on. So
then you saw what looked like, was it like light strings or something?
Yeah, I've had that there. Yeah,
'Cause-
we photographed that as well.
Because we
Oh,
went
wow.
into the room that he saw the shadow person in, and it looked kind of like I don't know how you describe it. It was like a angel hair kind of.
That's one of the common phenomena that a spirit will produce. It's like a webbed feeling that you're walking through of like it actually feels like you're walking through spider webs, but there's nothing there.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's also an old wives' tale, but that has proven to be fact in our investigations. And a lot of times when spirits are present, you will walk through kind of like this ectoplasmic web that you can feel.
Whoa.
Yes.
I'll be darned. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Common occurrence.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. We'll get out. I would like to have you back as soon as possible after Halloween. I really want to hear how that investigation goes. Just because
Yeah,
it's
we have several things in the works. So
Wonderful,
Yeah, we'd
wonderful.
love
And
to.
I have lots of stories to tell for
could-
those willing to listen.
for you. Like stories from what that you gather on the group.
That
During our investigation.
Just during the investigations? Okay.
that I've got from other people, from my work.
Mm-hmm.
Just different weird little history things and
We can talk about the hanging tree in Smith River.
the hanging.
Oh, cut it
tree.
out! I'm trying to get out of this show. I've got to go make dinner for my daughter and I, and you keep dropping these
Oh,
pearls.
What
All right.
about UFO sightings?
Nah, that's not as exciting.
Oh, come on!
I don't care about
We
you.
get a
Ghosts.
lot
I
of
care more about
reports.
ghosts than you, huh?
Man.
We get a lot of reports
Free
that
of
come
UFO
into our
stuff?
side of UFO sightings in the
Really?
area. Yeah,
Well-
Brookings seems to be a hot spot.
I've known people that I would actually trust and talk to, and I know them, and they have been in 2 different locations at the same time and seen the same thing out over the ocean. Yeah. And like one in Brookings and one down Smith River, sort of, and just watching the same thing happen. So yeah, that's pretty cool too.
Well, a lot of people think Bigfoot exists too, but I personally haven't seen or heard him. But I've heard a bunch of stories.
I'm more open-minded toward the subject.
What? You mean so that you're more incredulous about Bigfoot?
My argument is that
That's a yes, by the way.
growing
For those
up
of
in
you who-
Smith River and being out in the woods
You would
all
have
my
seen them,
life,
right?
I would have
Okay.
seen something. I mean, like me and Dad.
Yeah, you guys,
Dad
yeah.
and used to go way the heck out back, just driving around, hiking, going on like all these trails, and he just knows so much about, you know, the hills around Smith River, and we've been out there so much, and I haven't seen any damn thing.
Well, maybe that's because they didn't want you to see them.
Oh, perhaps. Maybe I smell or something.
Yeah, that's it. Whoa, here comes Ayla. Everybody hide. But guys, thank you very much. And let's talk. We'll get off the mics here, and we'll talk about just when the next time is we can get you behind the mics and tell them more scary stories, all right? And talk to us about investigation.
Good.
Wonderful. Once again, Facebook groups. Go, Ayla.
Del Norte and Curry County ghost stories and weird happenings.
And we're both belong to Triad Paranormal Investigations, and you can find us on Facebook.
All righty. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.